Hello everybody, this is Kurt with the Naked Kurt Experience, and I'm here playing some Diablo 3 again. Surprise, I know. I just have, a little bit of lack of something else to record, I guess. There's some new stuff that just popped up today for Warframe, I believe, but for right now, we're going to do some Diablo. Finally feeling pretty good. I just checked to see with my throat if I actually was still swollen or sore or not. It feels okay, so I'm going to try to maintain the recording like I used to. And for today, as you can see, I built up a Crusader a little bit more. I'm missing one piece to complete base build for Roland's, which is the new meta build for Crusaders. So, as you can see with profile, in my heroes, I've only played 5 hours and 30 minutes for him. So, of course, everything I have so far is not optimal. I'm missing his gloves. I don't have a Thunder God's Vigor. I don't have the new bracers. I can't remember that off the top of my head. And I do not have a Denial. I only have a Focus, and it's not a very good Focus. And I do not have the Restraint. Although I have a pretty freaking close to perfect Convention of the Elements. Not Ancient, though. I also have a crappy Mara's Kaleidoscope. And so far, 48.5% crit chance, 105% crit damage. That's where my damage is pretty much screwed. Cooldown's only 35.96. That's because I have nothing on these. These are mediocre, stuff like that. Lightning damage increased 20% just because I threw it on this crappy Promise of Glory. I'm only using them because that's the only bracers I found so far. And then sweep attack damage increased 15% because I got them on my boots. Yep. But I didn't get a chance to put on my helmet yet. And I'm only using a Storm Shield just because that's what I found so far. So that's what I got going for me. Right now, I guess what I'm going to do is just go through a normal rift and hope maybe I can get something going here for my normal Crusader. I just don't have any Greater Rift Keystone Fragments because they're on both of my other characters. I should have probably swapped those around so I could just do a Greater Rift at level 1. That's usually faster. But as you can see with just this so far, hold on, there's initial lag since I only just started the game up. So far, this isn't perfect damage yet, but it does pretty freaking good. It's not bad at all. It can clear a room, and the cooldown of Steel Skin makes this really nice. I should might put accurate on. My boots here. Damage reduction so far is actually pretty good on this character, so that's really nice actually. I'm not being destroyed by everything yet, but so far from what I can tell with Roland's build, this is the basic idea is flay and run. It's the best way I can explain it. No fancy cute rhymes there. Basically you just kind of go through like that, use laws of hope with movement speed adjustment on it. That's what I'm using anyway, just because the laws of hope actually give me a pretty good movement speed and movement unhindered. And then I'm also using the steed as well, my trusty steed here, just because I can get a really good movement boost out of that too. For Crusaders and stuff like that, that's the major selling point of trying to play them nowadays, is that you get a really good build with really good movement speed. You can clear lots of stuff really fast. But as you can tell, I'm not even 6 hours into this build, and I can already do T6 rifts relatively simply, albeit a little slow on elite pack clearing. Like I was saying before in my other videos, of course, you usually don't want to go into a rift like this and take over 30 seconds to clear some of these elite packs, but in my case, the reason why I'm letting that happen like this is because it actually isn't too bad. I think because I want to get a greater Rift Keystone, and I wanted to show you guys that one piece missing still doesn't mean that I can't use this. I can still use this just fine. The damage buff for the sweeping attack is actually pretty good. The other thing too is, although what was I going to say? Oh yeah, although the best build I've seen for this so far involves using sweeping attack, the sweep Sweep attack. I keep calling it sweep attack. It involves using that. There have been people that are using the shield bash very effectively too instead, because shield bash is also affected by this set. The reason why they would use shield bash obviously is because you still get the 500% damage. It's really cool to be able to use shield bash and slide to your enemy, like move across the map to your enemy. The only reason why I'm not using a shield bash is because the denial affects sweep attack. And you get massive damage boost off of that. And second, your Golden Flens, the one that I'm using now, Golden Flens, allows me to use sweep attack as a very, very good wrath generator. And so then for the most part, I don't really need another wrath generator. The reason why I have Slash with Zeal on is because when I use Focus and Restraint, you do need a generator to proc Focus and Restraint. So using Zeal, Slash with Zeal, I get my attack speed boosted a little bit. And as you can tell, whenever I have a Focus and Restraint, this is essentially how the fight would go. Left click, right click, left click, right click. The only difference is when I do have the gloves finally, that the attack speed goes through the roof. So you'll see it'll just be like, and it's pretty ridiculous to keep up with. But that's why it's so good. Alright, so as you can see, it takes probably about, I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds to kill an elite pack for me, which, as I was saying before, that's just a little bit slow. The good news, though, is that since I'm not being destroyed while doing it, and I can pretty much stand in a pile of enemies, that worry's not too big. Yeah, but the other thing I was saying before too with the shield bash, you can also run this kind of build using both shield bash and sweep attack too. I was playing around with it. It could work just fine. The only problem is you'd have to take off something like your steel skin, and as you can see from this build, if I use Laws of Hope here, and I'm hitting him, I don't get the cooldown reduction on that. So that doesn't count as one of the skills that you can get a cooldown reduction on. So if you get rid of Steel Skin, that's one of the few moves that I have on that actually gets cooldown reduction. That's the reason why I want to use the Steel Skin, is because usually you don't use the Steel Skin until you get into a massive pile of enemies, or like in a hard elite pack. Using Steel Skin means that I can use that, get the cooldown, and promptly use it again, and have massive amounts of armor and stuff at all times. And just like the Season 1, you know, it's the same idea when you used to have Acrats literally up 24/7. You can almost have Steel Skin up 24/7, especially if your cooldown's high enough. Mine aren't quite high enough yet. But if you can have Steel Skin up long enough, you know, you get massive toughness boost. So anything that's trying to attack you still might do damage, but because I have Steel Beast or Molten Wildebeest Skizzard on, anything that does damage, I'll heal just as fast as it's doing damage. So for the most part, it's not really that big of a deal. It's a moot point for them to attack, really. But as you can see for now, though, just because I don't have the gloves, it is a rather slow build, other than if I was using movement speed boosts. For the most part, between the Demon Hunter that I have and the Monk that I have and this character, even though this one's not done yet, except for when the attack speed gets boosted, I think for the most part the Monk is still my go-to... Oh, excuse me. Is still my go-to build. Just because he's the fastest in clearing waves and stuff like this. He doesn't do the most damage. My Demon Hunter does, for the most part, the most damage. Ooh, Roland's stuff again. My Demon Hunter does probably an average of 1.7 billion crits now. when I have like everything all procced up and ready to go, I can get up to 3 or 4. And the area damage that he does, well, not area damage, that's actually a thing. The damage that he does, since it's based on an AoE, it's not based on a single target. If you have 5 things standing in that one little pile with where you fire off the Demon Hunter's attack, you hit him with everything. Like, they all get hit with the same amount of damage. So, for the most part, the Demon Hunter hits the hardest in the largest area because you can hit, 4 different enemies all for 2 billion crit. While with, a monk or anything, it's based on if you can get them all into the one same little spot. Like, you don't have a very large AoE. With this one, his sweep attack is very large in terms of AoE, but the problem is, as you can see so far, it's pretty slow, and I have to be pretty close. So, I might be able to do a large amount of damage, but I still think it's probably going to be a little bit less than my monk, probably. In terms of just straight damage, in terms of DPS, it's going to be faster than my monk, just because the attack speed will make the DPS through the roof. But he still won't hit as hard as my Demon Hunter. But so between the Demon Hunter and my Crusader here, they're pretty equal in terms of speed, in terms of actually moving through the map. Just because the Demon Hunter has Smokescreen, which allows him to move really fast. The same goes on with this character. Oops, wrong button. The same goes on with this character. I have the speed that'll allow me to move through the map unhindered really fast. But the problem is, so far, I don't do so much massive damage that I can literally, one-shot an entire floor yet. Maybe when I get a focus and restraint and I get the last glove for the set, and if I get a higher damage golden flans, and if I get a Ramalani's gift one of these years. I still haven't gotten a Ramalani's gift. Maybe I can eventually actually do enough damage to make this worthwhile. But for now, it's really not. If it maintains this same kind of speed, for the most part, I'll probably not use the Crusader as much as my other characters. In terms of, greater rifting, I'll use all of them just because I want to see if I can get, up to over 40 with all of my characters for greater rifts, which is easily doable. All of them can get probably, if I had the best stats for everything and the best leveling, or not leveling, and the best weapons and the best armor, all ancient and everything like that, I could get over 50 with all of them, So far it seems like every single class can get over level 53 at the very least. In greater rifts. So like the quality for all builds so far seems pretty good this season, I think. It's just all of them now have a very, very good specific catering to the style you wish to play, which is really nice. It used to be, if you wanted to get, like, okay, so in Legacy, if you wanted to get as high as possible, like literally as high as possible on Torment level and be the strongest you could be, because there was no, greater rifting, there was no rifting at all. You would want to do a Whirlwind Barb or a Wizard or anything like that, because they had a actual massive glitch with their armor, that would allow them to be literally invincible. So that's the kind of stuff you do once they cleared all that stuff up and then started getting farther in. And then, actually let go of the auction house and all that stuff, which was a great idea. I hated the auction house. Once they got rid of all that stuff and actually started specializing all characters to have, the specific strengths for their major abilities, like, not having them all use different kinds of stats. So now barbarians only use strength, etc. That was a really good move too, because then after all that changed, then the build started becoming specific towards whatever character you wanted to play as. I don't know why I walked right back into that. That was kind of silly. And the farther that it has moved on now, it's become very specialized where, if you want a really fast moving build, something like a monk would be the most beneficial. Everything has changed now. Like, all of the characters, all the builds have changed to the point where now you could play a specific build for a playstyle you want to play as. It's not stuck to you have to do this build to be as high as you can be. Because when the first season came out and the Greater Rest first came out, that was the biggest thing that people noticed, is that if you wanted to get into the highest Greater Rest possible, you'd have to do the ones that do the most damage, and for the most part, it seemed like the best builds would be the Raycor Barb and the Demon Hunter with the Marauders, just because Marauders did so much damage. And then things started to change again once they started revamping everything. Then, you know, the Raycor wasn't essentially the best. A Raycor would do pretty okay still. It still does okay now. It's just, you know, the better builds are coming out with newer setups. And it seems to me no build is left on the back burner anymore. I just had a sneeze, excuse me. I've been at the mic, so hopefully you didn't hear it. Oh, legendary. Oh, Spear. Yay, that... I forgot what it's called, but the one with holy damage on it. But yeah, so rambling aside, because I was kind of paying attention to what I was doing, like I was basically saying, all the builds, you know, starting season 1, they, if you wanted to get into the greatest, you know, rifts and anything, it would be a Barbarian, Demon Hunter, maybe even a Fire Wizard. I'm not really sure about that, though. Oh, an Ancient one, wow. I might as well use it. It's pretty alright. I could probably reroll something a little bit higher, probably the Strength. Or I could... No, I can reroll Armor to reduce damage from elites. I think I'm going to do that. So you could get only to the higher levels just if you had those two builds. If you had something like that, a Demon Hunter or Fire Wizard, something like that, where you'd be able to tank and do massive DPS. And Blizzard kind of noticed that, I believe, you know, that there's only 2 or 3 classes that would get to the higher rifts at all. While someone's like the monk and anything like that, you would actually get kind of screwed being a monk, because you actually could not go into the higher rifts at all. Like it felt like it was near impossible to get into the greater rifts and anything. There was one guy and anything like that was the only one that was doing monks at all that could get any higher at all or anything like that by getting, you know, the perfect conduit and stuff like that. Come on, reduce damage from elites. I know you're in here. I don't have that many Forgotten Souls. So once that was noticed and they started getting the new seasons again, that seemed like the best choice, is just to, you know, start revamping everything. And then all of a sudden, all these characters and anything like that, all the different builds started becoming more viable, and every single set, every single character could make their own set and get into the, you know, greater F50s or so coming the new seasons. And that's what I like the most about it now, is that I'm not stuck to, okay, well, which one can get me the highest, because I want to see if I can get really, really high up into the greater risk. Now it's, which build do I want to play as? And that's why I'm testing a lot of the ones that are my favorites in the other days, just because of how they looked and stuff, not because of, you know, their clear ability. And I loved the way that the Crusader worked, but I hated the Stampede build. I really hated it, so I decided not to continue with the Crusader in Season 1. I did mostly the Barbarian because I love the speed and I love the Raycor charge and dragging everything around. And now, since everything's changed, you know, the Barbarian turned back into Spin to Win Whirlwind Barbarian, which I absolutely adore, because when we first started playing Diablo 3, that's the first thing I wanted to do, is just, you know, use Whirlwind. And then when you start looking up anything what you have to do to get really high up in certain things, that was the build, and it was exciting and anything. I love the way that Whirlwind Barbarians worked, and you could always just roll through every enemy and not do anything. But then that all changed when everything started being changed around, and then it turned into, you know, Whirlwind was not viable anymore and stuff. It was just a big clusterfuck, essentially. The ability for them to make it so that every single character set has a build that they can use to get to higher levels is what makes this awesome. And why I like playing it so much, and why I like playing so many different builds now. It's so much more fun to be able to go, okay, I want to try out this one and see if I can make it fast and powerful and entertaining for me. That's why what I'm hoping, if I can get a focus and restraint put together, and get my last pair of gloves. If I can get both of those things, I'm hoping that maybe I can get crits of 500 million or so. And have really ridiculously fast attack speed. If I can get both of those things on this build, I'll probably use them pretty often. Just due to the fact that I really like how the Crusader works. It's a very up close and just straight damage build. What I especially like about it too is that I can really stack up skills and other stuff that allow me to block more. And if I have a higher block chance, then I get more hardened senses and stuff for that. And I can also get a lot more damage mitigation. As you can see though, like, you know, if you have the right setup for this build though, the crowd control reduction on this I think is the highest of all of the builds I have, because the Demon Hunter has a really, really good one, but if you don't hit the majority of the stuff in front of you with the initial hit, and what I'm speaking about is that the initial attack that you have with a Demon Hunter, if the very first beast that falls from the sky from Rain of Vengeance does not make contact with the majority of the enemies that you're trying to murder, the secondary damage and stuff like that isn't very high. So like you actually do lose out on a bit of clearability in terms of trash mobs. With the monk, it's even more limited if they're not within your line of movement, and the line of movement's also kind of tricky. You kind of have to run into them. It's not like you can pass through them like a Raker build. You don't just pass through them, and anything that you pass through and your weight gets hit. You kind of have to work your way into hitting them a little bit proper. If it's not in their way for that build either, you don't do enough damage to really, you know, destroy. Ooh, another flail. Oh, that's the dark whatever. That's what I used to use in Season 1 because that build was really fun as a accurate. But yeah, so if you don't really have, you know, all of them in kind of a line and like just a little bit in front of you for you to be able to clear them easier, it's not very good. This one I can see like there's a almost 180 degree arc that you can hit with your sweep attack. Dark light, that's what it's called. 50% chance. I got 50 out of it. That's cool. I'm gonna keep that and see if I can build my old build from the very first season. See if that's even better. But yeah, the 180 degree sweep that you can get off of this kind of build makes the trash mob clearing and all the clearing very, very viable, because everything you're hitting with sweep attack, they don't get a reduction in damage. They all get the same amount of damage. So this clearing of trash mobs with this build is much better than any of the other builds I have. So in terms of, say, like T6 rifting for goblins, I think that this build would be more viable than a monk build and more viable than a Demon Hunter build, just for clearing T6 rifts, because the sheer amount of trash mob clearing I can do just with one sweep attack is pretty ridiculously good. Oh, and the other thing too with this build, like I was saying with Shield Bash, also with Zeal, you can use whatever the hell you want for the primary generator. If you want to use something that's more kind of focused, that also works just fine. It's just what I like about Zeal, like I was saying, is that I get a slash attack, you know, that's kind of like a sweep. as well, with a smaller radius, of course, that gives me an attack speed boost, which obviously I don't need an attack speed boost when I have the whole set to Roland's, because the attack speed's so freaking high I wouldn't notice another 4% attack speed boost. So you can use something like Punish or something else. That also would work just the same. It wouldn't matter. Honestly, with a build like this, I don't think channeling could really help me here too much, other than just staying in Akarat for a while for fun. Boop. Clear. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. I think right after this Greater Rift, though, we'll go ahead and end the episode just because I don't want to go on too long. Because I know that the normal Rift took a while. And these are only taking a couple minutes, but I don't want to go to a 40-minute video by clearing as many Rifts as I can, you know. But I did just want to talk to you guys about the new Crusader build and, you know, show you that with not every part you can still do T6 and still do my way of gaining materials and legendaries and stuff. This I still think is the fastest way to gain legendaries, other than saving up those sweet blood shards and spending them all Kadal and screaming at her for being a bitch because she never gives you what you want. That seems to always be the plan, you know. As you can see so far, though, I think it's safe to say that my toughness on this character is very T6 ready. As for Greater Rifts, it's not ready at all yet. But it is T6 ready, because a Rift 11's probably barely Torment 1. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember off the top of my head for sure, but I think it's somewhere barely around Torment 1. And using an esoteric alteration, as you can see, and the Will Beast Gizzard, your toughness is pretty freaking high, just because if they do any freaking low amounts of health damage, you regain it faster they can do damage, so. Oh, there's a rubber banding problem I've been having lately. And that's what I would recommend for gems. I think other people run that too that are doing Greater Rifts. The reason why is because, you know, from all the good stuff that you can get in terms of clearability with this build, unlike with a Demon Hunter, which is obviously way away from most enemies half the time you're killing stuff, and like the Monk, where you do get small amounts of invincibility and stuff, and you can move in and out of damage really fast. This build, you're pretty much in the middle of all the damage all the time. So having as much damage mitigation as you can and healing as you can between those two gems is probably paramount to make sure that you don't get destroyed. Hold on, buddy, just real quick. Let me grab that. Even though I won't need it. And clear. Only one legendary. Nothing I need either, which kind of sucks. I was hoping that maybe I would get some recording luck and get one today, but no, that's not the deal. That's okay, though. So I'll just level that up to 18, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just identify this and then end the episode here, just so I don't bore you guys to death with just doing the same thing now. Another word. Word. Alright guys, that'll about do it for this episode, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I know there's some new stuff, like I was saying, that came out today for Warframe. I'll be sure to check out some of that stuff and see if there's some new things I can record for you. So, thanks everybody, and see you in the next one.